It happened in March 2020. When everyone was staying home, I've never told anyone this story. It was a chilly, but not terribly cold day in Innsbruck, Missouri. I was chopping wood when I received a notification on my Airbnb app that a family of 3 was trying to book my cabin for the weekend. All I had to do was hit accept. But I was actually temporarily living at my cabin. I had decided to get away from things in the city with Henry, my Great Dane, since we didn't have much going on. My work had shut down for 2 weeks, just like the rest of the world. I declined their request and sent a note explaining the situation. I felt a little bad about declining it, to be honest. They seemed like a pleasant bunch, with a cute profile picture of the kid and parents smiling in front of a scenic landscape. Almost instantly, the dad sent a follow-up message, asking if they could stay in the spare bedroom. I found it odd they knew I had a spare bedroom, but realized I was being paranoid. The whole place was listed in great detail on the app, with lots of pictures showing all of the rooms. I looked at Henry, who was chasing squirrels around the outdoor fire pit. What the heck, I thought, so I hit accept. Little did I know, my peaceful weekend was about to take an unexpected turn. The family arrived Friday evening, in a green pickup truck. They were friendly and polite, and I gave them a quick tour of the cabin, pointing out the key features and amenities. They seemed pleased with the place and expressed gratitude for the warm hospitality and flexibility of booking the room. What brought you guys out here? I finally asked the dad. Hunting. Suppose that's all right with you. We have our license and everything, he replied. Hunting. I found it odd, but I didn't want to come across rudely. But the truth is I had always known Innsbruck to be a safe and quiet part of Missouri. Fishing? Sure. But nobody hunted? Sure, yeah, as long as your guys are careful, I finally said to him. Always, the dad said. As the night set in, I settled down in bed with a book and Henry, enjoying the peace and quiet of the woods. The truth is the family was super quiet. I almost couldn't remember they were in the cabin with me. After an hour or so of reading, I began hearing strange noises coming from outside. At first, I thought it was just the wind rustling the leaves, but the noises grew louder and more intense. It almost sounded like a howling. I cautiously made my way to the window, peering outside into the darkness. To my shock, I could see 3 figures running through the woods in the far distance. They were moving with incredible speed, leaping over obstacles and chasing after something. Maybe I'm dreaming, I thought to myself. But it only took a moment before Henry was rustling awake and stretching in bed, excited to see me and ready to play. Maybe something is going on. I didn't know what to think or do. I looked at Henry again, who was fully awake now. I was worried he may have to go pee outside. I told him to stay in bed and went to make sure no one left the house with 3 big animals out in the woods. But when I got to the spare bedroom where the family was staying, the door was ajar. So I pushed the door open and peered in. The family was gone. A shiver went through my body, one so deep, signaling to me I was in trouble. I quickly went back to my bedroom and locked the door. I gently pet Henry and got him to fall back asleep. I stayed up until morning, watching outside secretly, trying to confirm my suspicions. And around 5 a.m., the 3 figures emerged from the woods and came back into the cabin. I could hear their voices, saying to stay quiet to each other. I thought about calling the police, but I chose not to. It's only until Sunday morning, I thought. The next day, I kept a close eye on the family, observing their behavior and movements. Well, at least I tried to. They didn't come out of their bedroom all day. Then Saturday night, the same thing occurred. The noises. The howling. I tried my best to sleep through the night. I didn't want any trouble. After all, maybe I was going crazy, but around 3 a.m., I heard a new noise. It woke me up, but Henry slept through it. It was some sort of singing. Almost a lullaby in a different language, with more noises and fewer words. I carefully got up and looked out the window. The three figures were standing around the fire pit, swaying in rhythm with each other, burning something. It looked like some sort of animal carcass. I watched for a while as they loaded more and more of them into the fire. Dozens. I don't remember going to bed that night, but I must have. The next thing I remember is Sunday morning and how quickly it arrived. And how awkward it was. Henry and I went for a walk outside. I couldn't help but take a detour to look at the fire pit. As Henry chased a squirrel or two, I investigated the remnants of the pit. But it was clean, completely spotless, as if it had been scrubbed with cleaning chemicals. I couldn't believe it. The family slept in, finally emerging from their room just after 2 p.m., fully packed. We had the most amazing time. And our daughter has officially become a woman, the father said to me, breaking the odd day and a half of silence between us. That's great, I gulped. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. You have something special here in these woods, the mom chimed in. I don't believe you believe it if we told you how special it is. Amazing, I said. You'll have to come again. I was just trying to bring this odd weekend to a close. But the three of them all nodded enthusiastically. They thanked me again for the lovely stay and left a generous tip, which I was grateful for. But as I watched their pickup truck disappear into the distance, I couldn't help but wonder what secrets they were hiding. And what was so special in the woods around my cabin. They just reached back out to me last night. They want to rent the same bedroom over the same weekend in March. It will have been 3 years since that weekend. I don't know what to say. Should I let them come back? To celebrate our anniversary, my wife and I booked an Airbnb for the weekend, a cabin on the lake. Looks like it's about to rain, Amber said as she rolled her suitcase across the porch. I looked up. To the west, the sky was deep gray, thick storm clouds heading towards us at a steady pace. Just our luck, I grumbled, hauling my suitcase out of the trunk. After we'd gotten everything inside, we poured wine and sat by the picture window overlooking the lake. The sky was darker now, and the glassy stillness of the water reflected the deep gray of the sky. The pine trees surrounding the lake swayed in the wind. Wait, look, Amber said. There's someone out there. At first I didn't see what she was talking about. But then, as I squinted, I did. In the middle of the lake, there was a tiny, peach-colored blob bobbing up and down. Someone was out there, and they were waving their arms around as if signaling for help. Oh, God, are they drowning? Amber asked, rushing over to the window. You call the police, I said, getting up and grabbing my jacket. I'll take the rowboat out and try to help. The Airbnb had advertised a small rowboat that we could use. I could be out in the middle of the lake in under 5 minutes. Given how far we were out from town, it would probably take the police 20 minutes to get here. Amber looked at me, as if she were about to say something, but then she just nodded. I zipped up my coat and ran outside. The rain had started. A light drizzle blurred the lake in front of me, wetting my face. I ran down to the docks and undid the knot, then stepped into the boat. It rocked violently underneath me as I sat down and pushed off with the oars. I rowed furiously towards the center of the lake, keeping my eyes on the person. But they were a lot farther out than I had anticipated. Even after rowing 5 minutes, my arm muscles burning, I was only slightly closer. I stopped for a second and cupped my hands around my mouth. Hey! I'm coming to help. Hang in there. They didn't respond. Just kept waving their arms over their head. Probably can't hear me, I thought. Sucking in a deep breath, I began to row faster. The rain was harder now. Thick raindrops hit the wood of my boat with a tap tap tap. Water dripped down from my hair and into my eyes. I shook my head to get it off, not breaking stroke, and continued rowing towards the center of the lake. The person was finally a little closer now. I could see them bobbing up and down on the surface of the lake through the pelting rain, waving their arms furiously above their head. It looked like it was possibly a woman with dark hair, but I couldn't be certain. The oars sloshed through the lake. I was panting and my arms ached, but I forced myself to continue forward. They weren't that far off now. In just a few minutes I'd probably be close enough to yell out to them, to see them clearly. Flash. Seconds later, the rumble of thunder, so loud I could feel it in my bones. I swallowed. This isn't safe. I glanced back at the cabin. It was so far away, now. I could see the tiny brown blob that was Amber, standing on the docks, waiting for me to return. Maybe we should have just waited for the police. What if I get struck by lightning? I swallowed and turned back to the woman. Paddled as fast as I could with all my might. The rain pelted down furiously, running down my face, pooling in the bottom of the boat. The peach-colored blob grew closer and closer. And then, I could see her clearly for the first time. Every muscle in my body froze. Because as she bobbed on the water, waving her hands above her head, she was smiling, not just smiling. Grinning from ear to ear as she stared at my boat approaching. Instinctively I grabbed the oars and backpedaled. The water resisted me, kicking up in loud splashes, and then the boat began to slide away from her. Re-eyeing, I grabbed the cell phone out of my pocket. It was Amber. "Drew," she breathed, her voice wavering on the other end of the line. "The police. They said, whatever you do, don't go out into the lake." "What?" "Some psycho has been swimming out into the middle of the lake, luring people out. Just leave her there. Come back." She continued talking, but I didn't hear what she said, because the woman had disappeared. The phone fell out of my hands. I grabbed the oars and pulled them towards me, rowing backwards towards the shore as fast as I possibly could. I stared into the water, looking for a ripple, a shadow, anything, but it was impossible. With the rain hitting the surface, the reflections of the storm clouds, there was no way I could tell where she was. I rowed faster, my heart pounding in my chest. Glancing over my shoulder, I could see that the dock was still so far away. Amber began waving to me, frantically, flashing in the sky of the lake. The pine trees at the shore lit up. A peal of thunder rang in my ears. I rowed faster, and then I heard it, a tap tap tap, from the bottom of my boat. I didn't have time to react, before the boat flipped over and I plunged into the ice-cold water. I broke the surface and gasped in air, screaming. As I grabbed the side of the boat, something grabbed my ankle and tugged. I plunged back into the water. I struggled to pull myself up, but the iron grip on my ankle wouldn't loosen. I kicked and thrashed, trying to pull myself up towards the shadow of the boat above me, and then the grip released. I broke the surface, gasping. Then I clawed at the boat, desperately righting it. After a few attempts, I was finally able to get myself back inside. I turned it around and rowed as fast as I possibly could, never looking back. Miraculously, the woman didn't follow me. I scrambled up on the dock and Amber hugged me, crying. The police arrived soon after and searched the lake for the woman. But they came up empty-handed. Needless to say, Amber and I cut our trip short. We packed our bags and started the drive home just after the sun had set, but as we pulled out of the driveway, in the darkness, I swear I saw a light winking at us, from the middle of the lake, as if someone was trapped out there, signaling for help.